flappable ChanMan
Oh please,
has had
whatever.
maximum over Russell. I'm so sorry.
Whatever. Next topic: our Starcraft arcade night. So it's really kind of a minor topic, I mean, smaller topic, but basically our Starcraft subreddit is starting their own arcade night on Sunday nights, which is again another initiative to promote the StarCraft 2 arcade and trying to collect everybody again, kind of like what I've been trying to do with Wednesdays and Wednesday night sprites, getting everybody to play these 4 or 5 games together on a specific day. And I think you can go look at the subreddit right now. It's at the very top. It's one of those anchored threads, and you'll have to see it every day. So might as well go and try it out when you get a chance on Sunday. Kudos to them for doing that and really helping to promote the arcade, because the arcade's awesome. All right, next up. Shit. Next up, we're going to be talking about Esports Express. And then we're going to take a break after this, because this could take a while. So, all right, Richard. So you wrote an article about Esports Express, kind of, I guess, unveiling Esports Express to the public as to who's running it. I think a lot of folks in the industry already knew who was running it, and it wasn't like a secret or anything.
Yeah, they did. I think the Starcraft community kind of knew. Yes.
Yeah. So I guess the point of discussion is really, I mean, you seem to have a certain opinion about it, not being good, that a site that's based on parody, just parodying, I guess, the esports, or in StarCraft 2 in particular, is it's affiliated with like a major team or a major organization in the space. And I know you were hoping that it was just somebody completely random or somebody just different, and it doesn't have any kind of, I guess, skin in the game right now. I guess is an easy way to put it.
No, right, well, okay, well, look, right. Let's talk about what we've learned in the aftermath of the article. I think the first thing that we've absolutely got to say is the level of discourse in the esports community is appallingly immature. I mean, like, seriously. Anyone who read that article and thought that it was an attack on Team Liquid, or that I was saying don't support it because it's Team Liquid, or that it's wrong of Team Liquid to earn money, if you thought any of those things, you're a moron, unfortunately. And
nice.
You just are, though, and I feel sorry for you that you're that stupid, because it doesn't say any of those things, nor would I be stupid enough myself to say any of those things, because ultimately Team Liquid have got every right to earn money from their endeavours, and Esports Express, as it said in the article, is a great website. Satire is a particularly hard thing to get right. I think they've done it very well. I am a fan of their work. I support it. I regularly upvote it when I see it on Reddit. Not that my singular upvote makes that much difference, nor my endorsement. However, if you want to understand what I'm trying to say, I think we need to kind of like look at a few surrounding issues. So the first thing is, right, what do you believe ad block is? Now, if you believe that ad block is just some little security plugin on your browser, right, that's cool. Okay, you're right. If you believe that ad block is an esports industry killer, okay, we'll come to that in a second. But for me, what adblock represents is consumer choice. It represents consumer choice. We have a very archaic industry and a very cynical industry that is about turning numbers, viewers, into financial rewards. We operate on that very basic premise, and we do it by bombarding you with adverts, or we monetize our stream numbers through adverts or whatever. But it's very basic. It's not a very sophisticated financial model. And one of the things I like about adblock, and why I never got on that it's an industry killer bandwagon when everyone else was boo-hoo-hooing about it, is I like the democratization it brings to our audience. And that is, if you want to support somebody's work, you can turn it off, and you can do that. If you want to see the work so you know what's going on, but you don't want that to put money in that person's pocket, you have the option to turn it off. Right? Now, people say, Richard, that's crazy. Well, and then they say, it's not like flicking off, in an ad break during the TV. Of course it isn't, because we don't have a sophisticated a model. They work on like Nielsen ratings and projected ratings and what they're going to get, and they sell the ad space based on that, right? So we don't work to that sophisticated level yet. So I think it's a consumer choice issue. Now, that said, if you don't believe that, I understand why you might have a problem with my next connecting point, which is if it's a consumer issue and you have the right to turn ad block on and off as you so behest, and you've got an organization telling you that they like money and they want you to turn ad block off, I think you have a right then to know where that money goes, who you are doing that for. And one of the things I noticed in the League of Legends subreddit, which the article was primarily aimed at, a little bit Dota, but certainly less to Starcraft, I saw recurring comments that were, you know, oh, you've got to support these guys. They're just poor little esports fans that make no money. And we should turn ad block off and make sure they get that money. And I think that it's an almost, you know, it's borderline misleading to not correct that, because I think people need to make informed choices about who they support and who they don't. And that's all the article was. That's all the article was trying to achieve, was to make people aware that it's Team Liquid. Now, that probably, and me and Hotbid joked about this because he did get to read huge segments of the article before I published it. We joked about it. I said I'm doing you a favour because I'm not stupid. I know exactly how the community are going to go on this, and the community went exactly the way I said they would, which was to shit all over me, to make a bunch of ridiculous leaps that weren't in the article at all, to not even read the article yet feel comfortable discussing it, which actually I was disappointed to see Too Good do on the Good Studio show. They had a debate about the article and not one fucker around that table had actually read it, so thanks for that, guys.
Really?
Thanks for doing me that.
Wow,
I missed thanks for doing me that disservice. So the point of the article was simply to make the people aware. Now, maybe you're a Team Liquid fan, and you now want to support Esports Express more because of that knowledge. Great, that's fine. Maybe you were one of the people who don't like Team Liquid as a brand, as a team. Maybe you didn't like the way they handled the Pizza GG promises or something else like that in the past, and you want to make a statement about that. Well, I think you should have the right of information to make an informed consumer choice. That's what the article was about. It wasn't bias. It wasn't because they rejected me as a writer. Again, absurd. I'm happy to publish the emails. They rejected an interview and to reveal their identity. They said I was free to submit ideas. And it just made me incredibly sad to see a community kind of get whipped up into what is a very straightforward and basic thing. The Onion publishes the names of every contributor. It publishes the address of their offices, their phone number. This is, you know, you cannot, and this is before we even get into the discussion about can an organization that has such a presence in esports be trusted to wield the power of satire responsibly. But that is a side issue.
Wow, okay.
That is a minor issue in the grand scheme of things. The reason I wrote the article was to ultimately provide information so people can make informed decisions.
Let me get Steven's opinion. What do you think about all this?
I don't know. It's a really, really, really complicated question. There's like, I feel like I wish I had better resources to point people to, but like, I'm sure there have been people that have debated over the history of mankind. One of the big things that this comes down to is, do you need a frame of reference to understand the content that somebody's putting out? For instance, like look at 4chan's model. So the idea behind 4chan's model is everybody should be able to post content, and that content should be judged upon the merit of that content and solely on the merit of that content. If somebody posts a message, I should be able to read that and decide based upon only that message, is this good material or is it bad material? So the reason why like trip fagging is discouraged on 4chan, which is what they call if you use like a trip code if you have a name or whatever. The reason why people generally discourage stuff like that, or why they generally prefer the anonymous posting, is because of the idea that every post should be judged on its own. Like, just because, you know, like, the counter, not the counter argument, but something in support of that. Look at the way that subreddits work. If you go to reddit.com and Uniden posts any comment whatsoever, it's always going to be upvoted. Look at the League of Legends subreddit. Look at the Starcraft subreddit. I can go into a Starcraft thread, and somebody could write some really dumb shit, and I could put like 9 out of 10 or 9 out of 11, good effort, and I will get like upvoted to the moon, right? Just because of who I am. So people aren't, at that point, people aren't necessarily upvoting me or evaluating what I'm saying based on the content of my message, but more because of the person delivering it, right? That's the arguments in favor of anonymizing content, right? That's why that was the argument behind a lot of the 4chan stuff being anonymized, right?
Yeah.
Because, yeah. On the other hand, like Richard says, say did the ESEX people did they ever try to raise any money? Was there a Kickstarter?
I don't think they've ever raised money. They might have.
Okay.
No, there was no Kickstarter.
My
for
understanding
sure.
was it was all funded by existing Team Liquid's
Okay.
kind of.
So I mean,
it
like,
was just a blog anyway, set up on their own servers. So.
yeah, you get into like really weird territory where like I'll use myself as an example, okay? Like let's say that coming off like a lot of my controversial shit in the past, let's say that I also wrote for like, or I had like a separate blog where I was anonymous, and a lot of people liked it, and I had a subscription option set up there where people were sending me money, buying me gifts to my Amazon wish list because say I pretended to be a girl and people like to buy gifts for girls on the internet so they can sleep with them, shit like that. Like let's say that I had that going. People would probably feel a lot different about that content knowing who wrote it. Like, do I really want to be supporting a person that I absolutely fucking hate, knowing that they're putting out this content? Like, you get into a really weird spot there. You know what I mean? I don't know if there's necessarily a right or a wrong answer there. It's something that you could go back and forth on a lot, and I think that both sides could make very legitimate arguments to support their points.
Okay, so let's talk about the first point that you made, which was the whole anonymity part of it, right? Or, I understand that. I understand like not having like the reactions influenced by the author and who that author is, but they were already doing what was it, the Pitchfork Preserver or whatever. They were already writing these satirical articles on TL.net, and it was received really well too already. So why did they have to start a new brand, even though the brand itself is actually pretty great? The whole ESEX is just great acronym and everything. But why start a whole new brand to do this?
In defense of Team Liquid on that front, I actually understand it, because I'd like to write different kinds of articles to what I do, and I'd like to write some sort of funny and jokey articles as well, because
sure.
Despite what you might think, I actually have a sense of humor. But the reality is, once you start blending reporting and satire, I mean, you've already seen how many fucking idiots don't realise it's satire.
I see. Sure.
I mean, so there's problem number one. Problem number two is, even if you're not an idiot, if I'm writing satire 1 minute and then I break a big fucking story the next one, it's always going to be in the back of your mind, can I trust this? So okay. you absolutely have to keep it separate. And in that regard, I totally sympathise with what Team Liquid have tried to do, and I'm not saying they shouldn't make money from it. But again, say for example, when you have like the Curse Network, and the website is owned by the Curse Network, and they've got different websites under that umbrella organisation, it's displayed at the bottom so you know where a portion of the ad revenue is going to, and you can make a choice about that. And that is, like I say, that for me is just the key issue. Now, it's very frustrating for me, because I did know exactly how this was going to pan out. I didn't think everyone was going to drop to their knees and say, "Thank you, Richard, for saving us from the evils of Team Liquid," and fillet me for 40 fucking minutes each, and I was going to be heralded as the greatest journalist of all time for uncovering a scoop. But these things, whether we like it or not, need to be recorded, and someone's got to step up and do that. And everybody knew it was them. On Gamers knew it was them. People.
Everybody
people knew.
Yeah, a lot of
people
industry
knew who
people
it was.
knew who it was. I mean,
yeah, and I what I wanted to do was take that information away from the industry people, because I don't think, insiders knew who it was is a good enough defense, and put it out into the public domain. So it's now a matter of public record, and you can say that's a cynical thing to do. People accused me actually of doing it to get attention for myself. Like, I wanted to spend that evening deleting the inevitable death threats and abuse and bullshit. But no, like, I knew exactly how bad it was going to go. The most disappointing thing, actually, was that industry people who there was people like, you know, can they get fucking ESL and a couple of Riot guys. They were like saying, we love all your stuff. Never heard a good word out of their mouths before, of course, but we loved all of your stuff, but you fell off, man. You've gone soft. You're just trying to bait controversy and blah blah blah. And it's like, right, okay, so you're gonna get super vocal about the one article I've written that you disagree with, but you won't say anything good about the fucking other 100 or so that, you know, supposedly made you admire my work. So fuck those guys. I mean, it's bad. I had guys from Riot like giving me the whole, you're not making any friends, man. Like, what the fuck? Like, this is not a big deal. I had like I say, as I said before we started the show, I talked to some real reporters. Whatever you think about me or my work, I talked to some real guys who work for like newspapers and shit that I keep in touch with from my time doing the same. And they were like, they couldn't understand the heat it got. And I had a guy from the Daily Dot message me and say, this is why I quit reporting esports. Because, like I say, everything is either good or it's bad. We can't say, okay, this is a point of information. I might not like how it's presented, but now I can make an informed choice, and, you know, that's it. It's just a shade of grey thing right here. It either had to be, oh no, Richard Lewis is totally cool, man. And the people who had my back were making really shit arguments as well. Like, oh my god, why are you picking on him? Like, he's just trying to expose wrongdoing. No, I'm not doing that. Stop saying that. That wasn't what I was trying to do at all.
There is no wrongdoing. There is no
stop
wrongdoing
fucking
here.
saying that,
yeah.
right? So there was even idiots on my side. It was horrendously frustrating to be in that situation. But the reality is, this is about the level of discourse we have in esports, where everything's either good or everything's bad. It's really ridiculous that we can't just look at something and take it at face value. And
just to be clear again,
it's disheartening.
Just to be clear again, like the TL folks, you know, if you ask them straight up, they would always just tell you straight up. You know, it was them doing it. So it's not, they weren't lying to anybody about this stuff either. It's just I agree. I don't think it's that big of a deal. It's just, you know, I think it's just worth discussing as to, I guess the reaction that you've been getting from that article, and just really why they decided to, you know, kind of split it up into, you know, just to be anonymous in the beginning of it at least. And
yeah, no,
it's still going to be entertaining work, guys. I mean, everybody's still going to love all the articles that they do on the site. So
that's what I mean. It doesn't diminish the content in any way, knowing who produces it. I don't think it does.
I mean, it's not going to help it for sure, but it's not going to diminish it in any way.
No. That's not necessary. It definitely influences the way that somebody perceives content if they know who's produced it. That's definitely true. If I were to write some kind of article and then I were to pass that exact article off to Richard Lewis, or if I were to pass that exact article off to somebody else, people would perceive it and react to it in different ways. That's why, like, Stephen King tried to write a novel under a different pen name, because he was curious how the reception would be to that novel versus, you know, people knowing that he had penned, you know, another novel.
Sure.
I don't remember what his pen name was or the book that he wrote, but it's inarguable. Like I can give you countless examples that people will react to things based on who you are. I mean, just look at the Reddit example. Look at any League of Legends Ask Me Anything. The top comment is always going to be some big personality figure making like a one-line joke or whatever, or saying something like, "Oh, nice smite" or whatever in that one game, and like everybody upvotes that all the way to the top. So I definitely think that you can judge content almost immediately based on the person who is writing it. You know. Yeah. If I were to come out and write an article about how I think that sexism is damaging to esports or something, the reaction to that article would be way different if it was word for word the same as something that like Sunset from She writes stuff for Root sometimes on her own. Yeah. If she were to write an article about it, the reception would be way fucking different. You know, I'm sure the reception to Sunset writing it would be almost overwhelmingly positive, and the reception to me writing it would probably be almost overwhelmingly, well, what about that one time you did that or that, like, blah, 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 like, it's so hypocritical, like, it would be, the reception would be completely different, I think.
So, okay, I think generally speaking, yeah, I agree with you, but let's just look at this particular case, where it's TL writing these things now, you know, whether it's Hotbit or it's Wax Angel, or, you know, it's any of those guys, right? Is it going to be affected that much? I mean, we already know Hotbit writes, like,
it's hard to say. I mean, like, how are there any topics that they've satirized where somebody might dig through it in the Team Liquid and past go, you know, it's funny you guys make fun of this shit now, but in the past you fucking assholes did this and this, so it's pretty much just as bad. So it's kind of hypocritical for you to write. You know, like could that have happened with depending on the topics that they take on or any of the articles that they've wrote, or you know, are there going to be some people say like, well, I mean, like why the fuck would Team Liquid comment on this? Like it's like why do you guys even bother? Like you're not even part of that scene or whatever. So I mean it. Like I said, this is a really complicated topic. This is something that you could talk a lot about on the idea of should you be anonymous when doing certain types of journalism or certain types of articles, certain type of content, and what are the pros and cons to writing something anonymously? What are the pros and cons of penning something as a person that's not anonymous? You know, like how much of your article is going to be judged on the content of the article, how much is going to be judged based on your previous body of work, on that person's, you know, specific paradigm or frame of reference or whatever, like all the shit that they've done. Like, it's a really complicated thing. And like I said, I can see pros and cons to both sides. I wouldn't be so quick to instantly dismiss one side as right or wrong, because I definitely think that there's like a lot of things that influence, you know, how an article is taken when somebody reads it. Okay. Any last thoughts, Richard? Before we take a break?
You know, just on the grounds of anonymity, like, you know, again, I totally agree with what Stephen is saying. The reason, I mean, I'd love to write anonymously. Like, absolutely love to. It would free up so much time. It would make the task a lot more pleasant. But I think if you're going to write stuff about people, and especially some of the more investigative pieces I've done, I think you have a responsibility to put your name on it. Same if it's an opinion piece, you have a responsibility to put your name on it. Now, satire is traditionally anonymous. And that's generally because, as the quote at the start of the article says, it's the weapon of the powerless against the powerful. What you do is by undercutting someone and making them a figure of ridicule, you somehow diminish their power, and it's a readily available tool for anyone. We can all poke fun at anybody. But you know, I think when there's finances involved, and this is just the only issue for me. Like maybe it's coloured because I know about esports in the way I do, and maybe I shouldn't feel the way I do about things, but I just feel if ever an industry needed complete transparency, it was this one, because there is so much shit that goes on, and there is so much, and this isn't even an example of that. I'm not saying it is, but what I'm trying to say is I don't think it diminishes the quality of the work. Mm-hmm. I don't think it even is going to diminish the popularity of the work. Nope. I think, though, when you foster a myth that it's just a bunch of fans doing it in their bedroom as a hobby and they're not making any money off it, I think it becomes a little bit troublesome, a little bit, you know, morally dubious for that myth to be allowed to foster when you know it's actually someone being salaried by a very big organization producing the work, and people, I genuinely believe people have a right to be aware of that, and that's all it was. It wasn't an attack on Team Liquid or Hotbid. All
right, sounds good. So we're gonna end that topic, and we're gonna take a quick break, guys. So we'll be right back.
Oh shit! Did we
you want to say something
already?
You want to say something?
Yeah, just on that. I'm not dragging it out too much more. I mean, it's really interesting to think about whether or not you would support content knowing who's behind it, especially when it comes involved. And like I said, it's already a really complicated issue. When you throw the money on top of it, things become even more complicated. But I don't know, like, I feel like it's just such a gray area. For instance, it's semi-relevant to us. The Ender's Game movie, right? There were a lot of people, I don't know a lot, but there were people talking about not seeing that movie and boycotting the movie because the author of the book that the movie was based on had made kind of disparaging comments towards gay people in the past. I think it's something like, I don't think gay marriage is natural or something like that, you know? Right. And the fact that, you know, his name was attached to the movie and, you know, he wasn't doing that anonymously meant that a lot of people were boycotting the movie, not because of anything having to do with the movie itself, but simply because they didn't want to support him, that author. Whether or not that, I mean, it's completely within your rights as a consumer to do so, but whether or not that's like an overall good thing or a bad thing, I like I said, I think that's something that can go either way. It's a really complicated issue that gets exponentially more complicated when you throw financial stuff on top of it, you know?
And just to pick up on something as well before you cut to break, Chris, because Slash has popped up in the chat. and how nice of a representative of On Gamers to pass comment on this. He said there, the reason I got the backlash wasn't because I outed Team Liquid, but because of the rest of it. Well, that is also kind of my point. There was a degree of editorializing in the article, because I think, and we haven't even explored this, and I really don't want to, because I think it's so subjective. I think, and given what I've seen over the course of the discussion, I don't think there's any merit in discussing it.
Yeah.
But there is an issue with Team Liquid, and we know their ties, for example, with EG, who appear on the pages of Esports Express more times than anyone else. There is an alliance as well, who are of course one and the same. Now, I'm just saying there is a there are concerns, and I'd be doing my readers a disservice. I'd be doing myself a disservice if I didn't address or at least mention them. Now, I'm not saying I maybe struck the right balance. I think striking balance and tonality can be very hard to get pitch perfect in work. And I'm not deluded enough to think that everything I write is Pulitzer fucking prize winning material. You know, I certainly have qualifications as a journalist. I've certainly worked on newspapers and magazines. But I would still say maybe 1 in 8 pieces I write meets the standard I set myself. But between deadlines and other issues,
okay,
you never quite get to where you want to be. So I think you know, I get what Rod is saying, but equally I don't think you can leave those concerns out of the piece. It cannot just be, hey guys, it's Team Liquid, peace out. You know, you've got to contextualize what you're saying, and that's what I attempted to do.
Yep. All right, guys, we're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back. We'll be talking a little bit about Dota 2 and maybe some League if we have some time. All right, be right back.